Hello, everybody, and welcome to well, not how to, but drawing a comic cover part tres. That's Spanish for trois, which is French for three. I can count to like 100 in Spanish, but I can only count to three in French. Un, deux, trois. And that's all I got. Anyway, I'm assuming this is gonna be part three. It should be part three, but it could be part four, depending on how I edit that other one. Who knows? It's it's a mystery. Now, if you'll remember last time on this thing, we finished up the inking on Calamity and the Baron. Save for his arm here, which I need to do. See, I left myself the arrow, and I remembered what that meant. Yay! Of course, for all you know, I'm doing this immediately after the other one, but that's not the case. I've slept since then. So, this is important to me. This is a red letter achievement that I can actually see what the heck I'm doing. Anyway, past me left future me a note, and I got it. And I remember what it means. So that's good. I do want to get rid of this, though, because I have no need for that anymore. Anyway, I'm pretty sure I'm still on Baron Ink. Yes, I am. I'm on Baron's Inks. So that means that I can go ahead and finish this out. Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a new layer, just temporarily. Here, I'm gonna put it under that. Ugh, words. Anyway. Well, why are you being that way? Come on. Do like this. No. Maybe. No. Yeah, okay. I know what I want to do. Do like that. No. No, that's not good enough. Something more like. Just trying to kind of. I'm sort of winging it. Winging it. He's the pilot. I didn't even mean it that way. Anyhow, sometimes the best puns are the ones you don't mean to make. Alright. I have a friend who absolutely hates puns. And it's so much fun torturing her with them. She hates puns so much I don't know why she's friends with me. But hey, who knows? The world's full of odd things. And I'm one of them! Yeah. Anyway, okay, just gonna do that. But the point is, I did this on its own separate layer so that I could do a straight line through there, and I can just erase the extra like this. That way I can keep it all aligned nice and neat and properly. And now, well, actually I want to probably get rid of this a little bit too because there's some more overlap there. And now I'm going to go to the normal Baron Ink layer. I'm going to attach it to that layer that I just did, and I'm going to merge it. And then I'm going to save it, because if we've learned nothing here, we've learned to save and save often, hopefully. That's the huge takeaway, kids. Save and save often. Always save your work. Frequently. I still remember Mr. Lee in typing class. Back in elementary school. Like, that was his mantra. Save and save often. And if I learned nothing else from him, I learned that. And that was a useful thing to learn. Old Mr. Lee, he knew where things were headed. He knew what the score was. He knew the future was going to be technology-fueled, and he taught us kids what we needed to know. The big important things in life, like save and save often. Alright, so we're going to move on to the perfect year. We're going to for years different. We're going to be the professor and try to read the bill and the glasses and the coconut. Just for the bark. He's turned into the Swedish Chef. I don't even know. Oh, I should do that. I should do one of these, and I should draw the Swedish Chef and narrate the entire thing in Swedish Chef. That would be hilarious. Put that one on the list. Okay, anyway, that's not what we're doing right now, though. Right now, we're drawing the professor. I feel like the professor's bill here is kinda, like, a little too low. I think part of that is because I tilted the picture. If I hadn't tilted the picture, it may not have been as off, but it feels like it should curve more up. Well, no, that didn't work. Looks like it should feels like it should curve more up this way than it does. So I'm gonna alter that a little and see how that goes. Yeah, that already feels better to me. I'm gonna go ahead and erase this a little. That curved in a little too much, but see, this is the cool, fun part about going back in and inking is, you know, you're not chained to your sketch. You can tweak things as needed. No, I can't take it the line I want it. Okay, there we go. It's good enough for me. Let's go a little extra here if I can get rid of it. Whoops. I'm hitting things now. I have no idea what to talk about today. Like last time we got into like some deep, like hyper metaphysical stuff about like people's purposes in life and things. So this time, I don't know. This time maybe we're gonna just be stupid and silly. I don't know. Arguably last time was stupid and silly too. Depending on how you look at those things. But anyhow, yeah, I have no idea what to talk about this time. There's something for you to sling around in the comics. my words is crossed. I do comics, but that is not, no, words not good to make with talkie. That's something to put down in the comments. Is topics of conversation, things that we can talk about while I'm doing this, because I can do this now and without too much trouble. And we can have discussions. Do you prefer like deep philosophical discussions like last time, or do you prefer like stupid superficial things? Perhaps we could talk about cartoon related things on a cartoon channel. Like, imagine that. I don't know. I could maybe get into that here in a second. So anyway, I made that a little too long. So I'm going to do here is scooch this in just a little bit, and then we're going to retry this. How I tried to erase this. I don't know why it didn't. Ah, there we go. That's better. Anyway, This is why I love digital art, is because you can alter things as you go. It's one of the reasons I love digital art. I also love the ability to color so easily in digital art as opposed to having to do it by hand. Because I remember, like, coloring was always my least favorite thing to do. Because it can get kind of boring. Like, shading I like doing. And then the drawing, obviously, I like doing. But coloring was always my least favorite thing to do. Like, when I was a kid, I wouldn't even do coloring books. Of course, there were other reasons that I didn't do coloring books as a kid, because I couldn't stay in the lines when I was very young, which I think is pretty much the case with all the kids. But for me, that annoyed me. Like, as a small child, it bothered me that I couldn't stay in the lines, and so I just wouldn't do it. Which, I don't know, I guess in the long run, in the grand scheme of things, was maybe a good thing, because that just meant that instead of doing things like coloring books, I drew more, and, well, look where that got me. So, you know, maybe there's something to that. I remember, ooh, this was fun. I remember in, I want to say 3rd grade. No, it's not important. It was elementary school. That's what's important. I drew a picture of Bonkers the Bobcat for the class to color. It's like for a coloring sheet, and the teacher took it and made copies, and everybody had a coloring sheet of Bonkers the Bobcat that I drew. I was proud of myself, as you can imagine, at that ripe young age. That makes no sense. Uh-oh. They're coming to take me away! No. I hope they get wherever they need to go in time to help. Every time I see an ambulance or hear sirens or something like that, I always say a little prayer that they get where they need to go in time to get the people that need help the help they need. Anyway, the joys of recording, because you never know what's going to happen. I'm assuming that came through. That was pretty loud. I'm pretty certain it did. If not, you're like, what are you talking about, weirdo? There were sirens in the background, just in case that didn't come through, and that was completely weird and random for you. That was what was going on. But anyway. But yeah, Bonkers. When I was in elementary, I was proud of that. Everybody enjoyed it too. So, but I was never much for like coloring books and things like that, because it just aggravated me that I couldn't stay in the lines. Now, of course, obviously I can stay in the lines now. That's not a problem. I've gotten better, but I was not pleased with myself at that age. So anyway, the coloring is just so much faster on the computer, and you get so much solid covering than you would get even with like pencils or markers or things like that. I've been thinking to that end, sorry, I had to wet my whistle. Man, I used to be able to do that, like Gopher off of Winnie the Pooh, how he would whistle his S's. There we go. I need to wet my whistle. Black. Anyway, used to be able to do that. I think I can. Still can. It's been long enough that I'd have to play around with it. I'm not gonna sit here for 5 minutes and try to figure out how to whistle my S's again. Because you don't want to listen to that. But, yeah, words and stuff. I was saying something. Give me a second. It'll come back to me if it was important. If it wasn't, then I guess it doesn't matter, huh? Word. I'm still here. I'm thinking. Pondering. Oh, don't start that again. I had this cough that just won't let go. It's annoying. Okay, let's see. I was talking about Bonkers the Bobcat and doing things and coloring and not being good at that, and how much nicer it is to be able to do it on the computer. You can just select large areas and fill, and you get nice even fill. I remember where I was going with all that. So at the conventions and things, I will do drawings, and I will do like full color drawings, which are, a lot more expensive because it takes a significant chunk of time to color things by hand, especially if it's large. Like the larger it is, the more ground you have to cover, so to speak. So the longer it takes. But yeah, let's just leave that out. It'll be fine. What I'll do, I usually just colored pencils, but I've been doing mixed media where I'll use markers and then use the colored pencils over the markers to do like shading and get different colors and things out of it. But I've been thinking, I've seen some other artists who do it more than I do, conventions and color by hand and stuff, and Copic markers I think are very good for that sort of thing from what I've been able to glean. They're refillable too, which is nice. They're definitely a little more on the expensive side, but they also come in a bigger variety of colors, and they're not all like super bright colors, because a lot of times when I would like to use a marker, I don't, because the marker is just too stark. Like if I want a red, unless I want something like seriously heavy-duty fire engine red, I can't really use a marker for that, because that's the color of markers that I've been able to find. But like the Copic markers, they cover a lot more easily, and they don't get that, they don't do the thing that some markers do where when you go over something more than once, it makes it darker to the point of like you get these weird lines where you were coloring it in. I mean, like the coverage is better, and the colors are more subtle, so that makes them easier to work with. Now, of course, as a cartoonist, I love bright colors, but you want the right thing for the job, especially things like brown. Like obviously, if you've seen my work, my characters anyway, oftentimes require a lot of brown, and if I want, pardon me, and like finding brown markers is hard enough anyway, and usually if you can find a brown marker, there's one shade of brown and it's a dark brown, and that's it. So like I could do, like the professor here, I could do his fur, but that's about it. I might be able to also use it to do Calamity's hat, but I'm certainly not using it to do Calamity's fur, because it's more of a lighter reddish brown, and they don't make normal markers in that color, at least not that I've been able to find. I say normal markers, like your basic run-of-the-mill markers, which of course the Copic markers aren't. These are more fancy art markers, and I think I might like to get a set of those before the next convention. I don't know if I'm going to be able to or not. I need to look into it and see how much they cost. I know they're more expensive. I do know that, but again, like I said, they're also refillable, so you've got that going for you. And the refills, I don't think, are too terribly bad. I'd have to see. The big thing would be whether or not it would be cost effective to get it for the conventions. Like, am I going to be able to make enough at the conventions to justify the cost? But again, I think I mentioned this last time, but like I said, I have slept since then. But I think I mentioned that I've been pondering doing. Oh wait, no, I thought I heard something. I think I have mentioned that I've been thinking about doing some more out-of-state conventions. I think I mentioned that. I don't know. Maybe I didn't. But anyhow, in case I did, let's just rehash. In case I didn't, or in case you didn't hear the other one on the other video or see it or whatever. I've been thinking about doing some other conventions out of state starting next year. Now, when I say that, I mean like neighboring states. But still, because thus far I've really only done conventions here in town. And that's because of transportation limitations and such. But if I can make the proper arrangements for next year, which I am looking into, I'd love to expand a little bit. And I bet you folks out there might like that too. there are probably some of you out there who can't make it to little Amarillo, Texas, out in the middle of nowhere. Which, I mean, it's not really in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of a central area, but still, there are probably some of you here stateside that's still unreasonable for you to try and get to. And I might be coming closer to you. I'm looking at some things maybe in New Mexico and or I'm looking at some things that are here in Amarillo, or not Amarillo, Texas rather. Some things here in Texas that aren't Amarillo, I mean to say. I've also been looking at some things in New Mexico and also Oklahoma. So if you live in any of those areas, you know, I might be coming somewhere a little bit nearer to you, so you can come get a custom commission or something like that. Maybe pick up books. Like I said, I'm like with this one, I'm hoping to have both this and the Minecraft book ready to go by this convention season, but I'm sure I will have some left for the next convention season. I think it was the last convention last year, August, I think it was, that I finally sold out on my first print run of Dungeons and Doorknobs. So that was, I don't know, like 3 years after that initial print run. So like it took some time to sell it all, but I did sell it all. So hey, that's good. Well, most of it. I think I gave like a couple away to friends or family. I don't remember, but I know and I know I kept a copy for myself because of course I did. But so yeah, I expect if I get I'm gonna probably, based off of that, I'm probably gonna get a similar batch of these, except I'm gonna get the same number as I got of the Dungeons and Doorknobs ones, but I'm gonna split that number between Minecraft and Stranded. So I'll be pulling the same haul. It's just gonna be split this time between two different books rather than the same book. Ostensibly. I mean, it depends on the costs and things. It may be more cost effective to just get 2 full runs of both books. I don't know. We'll find out soon, very soon, hopefully, because I need this thing by mid-May. And it is currently April 3rd, and it's going to take about a month to get all these things printed and get them back. Or I should say, it could take about a month. If memory serves, when I did the Dungeons and Doorknobs one, it actually took them less time than they had projected on the site. Which makes sense. They usually tend to overestimate those things. That way, they don't have to worry about running late or anything. I'm going to turn Calamity off for the moment, just because there's going to be some overlap in here, and I don't want to confuse myself with all of these lines, so I can keep track of what I have and have not inked. But anyhow, that's my plan, such that it is. I forget what my point to that was, but there you go. So, but yeah, I need to get this thing done soon so that I can get it off to the printers. Because it'll take them a week or two to get back to me with the actual proof, which basically they print a single one out and they send it to me just to be approved, and then I A-OK it and they go ahead and print the batch. Or I don't A-OK it because something's wrong, and then things have to be adjusted. And that's what could really take time. If I OK it, you know, they can have the whole job to me at a very reasonable time frame. But if they send me the proof and there's issues with it that need to be changed, that could take a while. Like, for instance, a good example is that on the Dungeons and Doorknobs one, the first print run came off kind of dark because of just like the ink they were using and whatnot, and so I had to adjust the brightness of the cover. I think it was like the internals were fine, but the cover was a little too dark, and so I had to adjust the brightness and resend that. And I mean, when it comes to edits, that's a pretty minor one, and it's not that big a deal, but it did eat some time. It did do that, so it's not even necessarily like if something goes wrong or we're having issues or something, but it could be something as simple as, oh well, when it's actually printed, that looks a little bit darker than I wanted it to, and so I'd like to lighten it up a little. Throw a lightening filter on the picture and resend it. Just tweak it. Basically, do color correction. Some people get paid good money for color correction. Basically, to make sure that things print the way they're supposed to look, is what that is. They do that in movies too, except obviously, rather than talking about printing, we're talking about film. But either way, it's to make sure that the colors come out properly and if they need to be tweaked or whatnot. And that's what color editing is, which sounds like just the most boring thing ever, but to me anyway. Again, like I was saying before, I didn't enjoy coloring a lot as a kid, and to this day, coloring is not my favorite thing. I don't dislike it. I just don't find it boring. I find it can actually be very therapeutic. What I love to do when I'm coloring is those are the best times to just stick some music on or a podcast or something and just kind of zone out and do the coloring. Which I probably won't be doing for this one because I'm narrating this one, but still, that's what I've done in the past. You do. You know what? Do this. No. There we go. That's good. Have it folded over. Just makes it a little bit more interesting. Spalding! No, Spalding. A great indestructible coconut. Tell me what you want from me. That was so much fun. Went completely nuts with this one, and it was great. Everyone seemed to really love this one. The professor and his slow descent into madness. I think I made some references to Lord of the Flies and stuff like that, which was funny. I hated that book. Such a downer book. It really was. Like the only two characters that I really liked were one of them got killed and the other one almost did and would have been if not for the fact that, well, I don't want to say. Just in case there's anyone out there who hasn't read the book, I don't want to ruin it for you, even though I think it's probably kind of already ruined anyway, just by existing. But yeah, didn't love it. Didn't love that book. Not a big fan, but it's certainly prime fodder for something like this. So it's because the whole premise of the book is society, how quickly society can break down under certain conditions and people revert back to their premise. It was a very negative attitude book, and I personally don't subscribe to the mindset that book puts forth, that people will just default back to savagery. It's the same kind of thing that I don't like a lot of post-apocalyptic stuff, because, like, you're going to have people who are going to take advantage of the situation, try to take advantage of other people. I mean, of course you would. But I think that a lot more people would be willing to work together to try and survive and make it through than they like to portray in those things. Like, in those things, society collapses and it's everybody for themselves, and, nobody cares about anybody anymore because the societal constructs that allow us to care for each other have been destroyed. And so, I mean, I don't know. I'm not that pessimistic when it comes to human beings. I mean, certainly we're incredibly flawed, but we're also incredibly social animals, for lack of a better term. We're more than animals, but still, that's a whole nother ball of wax. But all the same, we're very social, and we need to interact socially, and we're cooperative as far as, again, as far as the animal kingdom is concerned, we're highly cooperative, and like, I just don't think it would be that terrible. There would be a few people that would be that way and take advantage, and I'm gonna do whatever I want at the expense of others, but there have always been people that way. I mean, you look at history. There are people that way today. How much they can get away with that is dependent on where they live and the laws there and everything. But you've got some places where you've got dictators who are those people of, I'm going to do whatever I want and I don't care, and their people suffer for it. I mean, just a stroll down history will tell you that that's nothing new, and yet we look at where we are, where we've come. I don't think that the world would fall apart overnight quite as quickly as people might think. And I think people would fight a lot harder to maintain whatever shreds of civilization remained than a lot of those post-apocalypse or zombie apocalypse or things tend to show. So those things don't really resonate with me very much. Don't really remember what my point to that was. Oh, Lord of the Flies, right? So Lord of the Flies was that sort of thing, and it just didn't, it didn't work for me. It was just not my kind of story. But hey, I was able to make fun of it and then get some really fun humor out of it too. Like Professor Sanity Slippage is still one of my favorite things that I've done so far. The thing is, I've got so much more in my mind than I've actually been able to put out on paper. So, like, in my head, these characters have been out on a lot more adventures and done a lot more things, and this just happens to be one of the ones that I've put to paper. So I have to remind myself sometimes, it's like, other people don't have that all-access pass to my brain, which is probably a good thing in many different ways. But, they don't know. It's like, they just know this, or they just know Dungeons and Doorknobs, and that's all they have to go on. It's like, ugh. Which, that's another thing I want to do with my next project that I've mentioned before, is kind of do a little bit more, what's the word for it? Not character building, I've done that, but, I don't know, framing, I suppose? Do a little bit more framing for the audience to get a better feel for things. I don't know. I'm not quite sure how to phrase it, but I guess to build the foundation a little better, you might say. Pardon me. Let's see. Let's put his... I think these are important. This is important to his headband. I remember. I thought it was fun. It would be funny to have him take his bow tie off and tie it around his head like this, and go all tribal. Because there's just something funny about the ends of the bow tie, and like how this shape somehow gets you a bow tie. I don't even fully understand it myself, how you go from this to a bow tie. But again, I've never worn a bow tie that wasn't a clip-on, so that may be why I don't understand. But I always thought the ends of a bow tie were funny, and I thought it was kind of humorous to have him tie it around his head like a bandana, not bandana, a headband, like this, and then no, don't do that. I don't want that. I want that. There we go. But you had to have him tied around his head like that, and then have those ends hanging off, with their funky little shape. Like the clash between the refinement of a bow tie and the unrefinement of having a headband. Very funny. And of course, Calamity here is the most competent one in that scenario, because he's a bushman. So you put him out in the wild, that's his area of expertise. So he's right at home there. Okay, so here's what's happening here. I was looking at this before while I was waiting for things to load up and stuff, and I had this up and it was just sitting there. I thought to myself, I need to readjust the size of that eye just ever so slightly. There we go, that should do it. Yeah. Yeah, it may not seem to make much difference to you, but in the end, I think it'll be better that way. Let's see here. Still have Spalding's face to do. And the cracks in the Baron's goggles. And I need to do this too. Heck, how did I get so narrow? Oh, I actually hit the wrong thing, that's why. Give me the size I want. Is that it? No, I think this is it. Yeah, that's it. Like that. Because if you'll remember, if you've seen the comic, this part of his hat had gotten ripped. So this is what happens when you crash in an airplane. Things get damaged. It should not be surprising to anyone. There we go. That looks good. I'm happy with that. Yeah. Yep. That's good. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Actually, I want to do this too, I think. We'll come in here. Oh, Professor. Come in here. I'm going to erase this. Right in here. I'm going to have this part actually like fold back a little bit more. Kind of give it a little more depth. Even though it's like going back. Yeah, there we go. That's good. That's good. That makes me happy. Sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy. Okay. Right. Okay. I need pupils. I have to give each their own pupils. New layer. Cal. Pupils. I think I talked about this last time, about doing the pupils separately so that I can adjust them as needed. There we go. That's good. Yeah, that's good, that's good, that's good. Because I feel like what I need to do here is like move it down a little bit, like maybe there. I don't know. For some reason that makes his entire head look kind of squatty. I don't know. I think where it is might actually be good. Like the sketch I wasn't so sure of, but now... Okay. Baron ink. Do Baron Pupils. Man, I'm gonna put those. I think he looks kind of like dazed and confused, so he's not necessarily looking straight at the camera or the viewer, as the case may be. Camera, viewer, whatever, same thing. Try to get a nice round pupil. That's good. That's good. I don't know actually now that I look at it. I think maybe if I nudge that down a bit. There we go. Yeah, I feel better about that. Maybe take this and... I'm thinking maybe I take this and move it up to kind of match. No, that doesn't work. I actually think I like it where it's at. I mean, they're not looking in the same place to be sure, but I think it works. So, I'll just go with that, I suppose. There is one other thing I need to do. I need to go back to Baron Ink, and I need to go to my pictures. I've got comics. Stranded. Okay, this looks good. That'll do. As good as anything. I just need it for reference. Go here, and I can look and see. Okay. I didn't remember how I broke his goggles. So I wanted that for reference so that I'm going to do this. See, look, moving away. I wanted that for reference so that I could finish this up a little bit here. It's about the size I want it and get it where I want it. Yeah, that's good. Now grab this and go whop. Okay, so sure I'm on the right layer here. Baron, yep. Just break the glasses like that. Not complicated. Of course, you can have you've got the inside of him there. And then here there's just like a crack. There, that's better. That'll do it. And then we'll save that. Save and save often, kids. Okay, yada yada yada. Then aside from that, I need to do Spalding's face. I'm going to take that color right there. So that's Prof ink, and then I'm going to put another layer on that. Now I'm going to do Spalding face. And like this, I purposefully just kind of draw wobbly. And it was a little too pointed there. How did I do the eyeballs on this? Something about a piggy. That's a reference to Lord of the Flies too. Okay, got it. But this one's just like this. And this one is like that. And then I'm going to actually make the smile a little bit more. No, not quite that far. There we go. It looks so stupid and goofy. I love it. Alright. I'm going like that. Delete. Like that. I probably want to actually drag this under the professor's inks. There we go. Spalding. Okay. I remember this. This was so much fun. Oh, mighty indestructible coconut, what do you want from me? So hope he doesn't go all Lord of the Flies on us. What? I read? Don't look so surprised. Good times. Okay. I think, I don't know, scary prospect, that's all in order. We, I believe, are done with the inks. Hey, woohoo! Look at that. What time is it? This thing has been going on for about 50 minutes. So you know what, folks? You know what, folks? Folks, you know what? You know what, folks? You know what? I think that this is going to be it for this one. We'll probably come back with colors on the next one. And that one, looking at the time, I probably am going to do that one right now. I'm going to keep going. For you guys, you're going to probably have to wait. Then it'd be evil to make you wait. No, but you know, I don't want to do inks and colors on the same video. Did that go dark for you for a second? If it did, I'm sorry. My stupid screensaver decided it was time to kick into gear. Stupid screensaver. Anyhow, yeah. So I'm gonna do the colors next, but I'm gonna end this here because this is a good ending point. It's a good stopping point. Like I said, I don't want to do the inks and the colors on the same video. I'd like to keep them. I'd like to keep them split up in a reasonable sort of way. So we're gonna do that. So draw, please. Let's look at what we got here. It's pretty good. Oh, you know what I should do instead? Where is it? Let's do this. There we go. So, yeah, that's what we got, folks. We got our inks done. And so next, we're gonna swap out into... Really? Why is this doing this now? So, we've got our ink done. Next time, we're gonna do our paints. Well, I say paint. I'm used to ink and paint, like from animation lingo. But, it's not really painting, it's just coloring. Let me take this out because I've got this line here that's not supposed to be here. And you know, some of the inks need to be cleaned up a little bit in places like this. A lot of times I'll catch stuff like that while I'm doing the coloring, and I'll go back to the ink layer and touch it up a little bit. Sometimes I don't catch it at all. And then after things are already printed and finished and finalized, I notice it. And then it bugs me because I can't do anything about it anymore because it's already done. That's definitely one thing I've learned in life, is that as an artist, you nitpick your own stuff more than other people do. Like, I guarantee you that little extra line down here on his tail, nobody would have probably noticed at all if I hadn't brought it up and fixed it. Like, I could have left that there. To that end, also, Professor here, there's this weird, like, little split part of his tail where the lines split, and I need to kind of splay. I need to attach that properly. There we go. And then, I got a hair wrapped around my stylus. And then so. And then back to the brush. Touch this up. There we go. See? Good show. I say, good show, old chap. Pip, pip, what? Okay, so that's it for now, folks. I will see you, well, I always say that. I'm not gonna see you. I can't see you. That's not how this works. I'll be back, shortly. Well, not that shortly for you, anyway. But I will be back with coloreds next time on what should be part 4, I believe, of this little experiment. So, until then, fare thee well.